Hi, I'm Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor, and this is the second in my short series of videos about Cayman wisdom. As I said in the first video, I was very privileged to go on the Cayman retreat a few weeks back. Cayman retreat is the highest level of mentoring offered by Progressive, and it was an amazing experience. And although I can't share specific advice given to specific individuals, there were some general sort of nuggets and bits of advice about business, mindset, investing, which I feel I can share with you. And in this, the second of the videos, I just want to talk about the type of people that we're hanging out with. Now that can sound almost elitist, and I can, even as I say it, I'm thinking, gosh, should I even be saying that? The type of person sounds awful. But what I mean is, who are we hanging out with? Who's in our network? Who's there to inspire and encourage us? Who's there to help us along our way? Not quite the same as a mentor, but very similar to a mentor. It's almost like having a team of mentors. If you've read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks about the power of having a mastermind team, a group of peers who you can meet with regularly, who can help you, who can share experience with you, who can show you how they did it, for example, who you can bounce ideas off. And it's incredibly valuable to be part of a community or a team or a group of people where you can do that. Now, one of the great things about being part of the Progressive community is that as a community I'm always staggered and somewhat humbled by the way that so many people are prepared to share and help. I've not ever heard a story within the Progressive community of somebody asking for help and then not receiving help. So you're in a really brilliant place, particularly if you're new to the community. But I suppose going to Cayman just really highlighted that for me, because as well as the mentors, there was the mentees. Now, we were allowed to sit in on each other's mentoring sessions and listen and take notes, which was great. And we were obviously mixing. We were all out there for about a week, maybe a few days more than a week. And not just at the mentoring sessions, but also we were socialising, and it was just great to catch up with people. But hanging around with a group of people who want to achieve, hanging around with a group of people who are out there with the sole purpose of making sure that they could achieve exponential success over the next 12 months, hanging out with a group of people and hearing their aspirations, hearing about their goals, hearing about their values, it's got to have a profound and deep effect on one, unless you're completely hardened to that kind of thing. And I came away very inspired and very encouraged, and also very, very challenged, because one of the things which I realised was, maybe at times I don't allow myself to think big enough. I know it was Donald Trump who said if you have to think, you may as well think big. If you're going to think anyway, you may as well think big, and maybe Donald Trump at the moment hasn't got such a great name. That's not for me to judge. But it's true that sometimes it's great to have our thinking challenged, and I think that's one of the big benefits for me of actually being part of that team, apart from the obvious benefit of being mentored by Rob Moore and Mark Homer and Mark Anson and Paul Preston and Dave Ravenscroft. So who are you hanging out with? Who's in your team, if I can put it that way? Now, I don't know if you've done the JV day at Progressive. If you haven't, then get yourself booked on, because it's a great day. You'll learn a lot about JVing, and JVing is one of the best ways to accelerate your property business. But one of the things which you'd be challenged to think about on the JV day is who's in your network, because Rob Moore will say your network is your net worth. And it's absolutely true. So who is in your network? Now, Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, personal development gurus, they teach that you can tell or guess somebody's wealth and salary by looking at the 5 people they hang around with. We tend to be an average of the 5 people that we hang around with most. So who are you hanging around with most? And so here's a challenge for you now. Pause this video, get a piece of paper and a pen, and write down the names of the 5 to 10 people you're hanging around with most at the moment. And if that's family, yes, write down family. When you've done that, come back to me. Okay, well, I hope you've done that. Now have a look at the list. Who's on your list? Have you got any billionaires? Have you got any millionaires? How many successful property people are on your list? How many successful business people are on your list? Or have you got people who are negative, who are going to hold you back? Big question is, if you've got people who are negative and who are going to hold you back, what do you do about that? Well, some people would say, sack them. Don't hang out with them. Now I'm a bit soft and fluffy, and for me relationships are important, so I wouldn't do that. That's just the way that I am. But I'd certainly manage my relationships. I wouldn't be talking to somebody who doesn't understand about property. I wouldn't be talking to them about my property goals. If it's somebody who's negative about business or investing or finance or wealth or whatever, I wouldn't be talking to them about those sorts of things. I'd be managing my conversations. But have another look at the list. I say it again, how many billionaires, millionaires, successful property people, successful business people have you got on the list? Chances are probably not enough. So the challenge is, how are you going to find more? Who can you bring into your network? Who can you get to know who's going to be in your network? Who can be part of your mastermind team? Who can be there as a potential JV partner when you find your next property deal? Who are you going to ring and say, would you like to come in and finance this deal with me? Because that's one of the key things, but not just about the money. Inspiration, knowledge, experience, all of those things are important as well. And you need to be able to tap into those and have a team, a mastermind team, a network, a group of people who can help you to do that. So that was a big lesson for me in Cayman. I felt very awestruck really when we were sat around that dining room table listening to the mentoring sessions, just sitting there rubbing shoulders with some people who you'd recognise as being very big names within the progressive community, and there was little old me sat there with them. I'm sure that it's done profound things to my mindset, and the investment of being there with those people is going to be paid back many times over the next 12 months. So have a think about where you need to be hanging out, think about who you need to be hanging out with.